So you're going for that senior network architect role. You've got the skills, you absolutely know the tech. But let's be real, the interview? That's a whole different game. Today, we're going to break down the exact mindset and even the exact phrases you need to use to go from just answering questions to completely owning that room. Look, you've spent years in the trenches. You've got the certs, the hands-on experience. Nobody's doubting that. But an architect interview isn't just a pop quiz on protocol numbers. They're trying to figure out if you've made the leap. Can you think like one of them? Can you move past just fixing today's problems and start designing the systems that prevent tomorrow's? And this right here, this is the crucial difference. The knock engineer, where many of us start, is reactive. You're applying fixes, following runbooks, focusing on the device right in front of you. But the architect, you have to be proactive. You're not just deploying a fix, you're obsessed with the root cause. You're not following the runbook, you're designing the blueprint. It's a total shift from a technical focus to a business outcome focus. This is the change they need to see in you. So, proving you've made that shift all starts with your foundation. It really isn't just about what you know, it's all about how you talk about it. We have to reframe your core everyday knowledge using the language of design, resilience, and scale. Memorize this sentence. This is your new go-to answer for routing and switching. You're not just saying, oh yeah, I know OSPF and BGP. No, this is a power statement. It hits all the right notes: design, best practices, resiliency, convergence, scalability. It tells them right away that you're thinking about the big picture, the why behind the tech. All right, let's get into the stuff that's really going to make you stand out from the other candidates. We're talking about the modern data center. And you know what that means? You have to be able to talk fluently and confidently about Cisco ACI. And this right here, this is your golden definition. It's short, it's spot on, and it proves you get the fundamental idea of ACI. It's not about configuring interfaces anymore. It's about defining policy. You're separating the what from the how. And you've already mentioned the key building blocks: EPGs, contracts, and L3 outs. Perfect. Now let's walk through how it's built. Think of it like a set of containers. First, you have the physical leaf and spine fabric. Then you create a logical box called a tenant. Inside that tenant, you have your VRF for routing and your bridge domains, which are kind of like your subnets. Then you group your servers and VMs into endpoint groups, or EPGs. But the most important piece of this whole puzzle is the contract. This is the mic drop moment for ACI's security story. It's a true zero-trust model right out of the box. You know, in old-school networks, everything on the same VLAN could chat with each other by default. ACI flips that completely. Nothing talks to anything unless you explicitly allow it with a contract. This is an absolute game changer for security and for auditors, and you need to hammer that point home. Okay, listen up, because I will bet you money this question is coming. That's great, but how does this fancy ACI fabric of yours actually talk to the rest of the network? The answer is an L3 out, and you better have a clean, confident explanation locked and loaded. And boom, there it is. This is such a strong answer. Why? Because you're not just defining what an L3 out is. You're showing you've been in the trenches with it. You casually mention both OSPF and BGP. You bring up critical details like VRF mapping and route control. And this is so key, you mention firewall integration. It proves you've done this for real. A great architect knows the network doesn't exist in a vacuum. The modern data center has to plug into this whole ecosystem of other tools and platforms. Showing you understand these connections is what separates a senior architect from a mid-level engineer. And these are the big three you want to be ready to talk about. VMM integration. Can your network see and automatically apply policy to virtual machines? Service chaining. Can you intelligently redirect traffic through things like firewalls and load balancers without breaking everything? And IPAM. Are you managing your IP address space like a pro, or is it just chaos in a spreadsheet? So why do they care about VMM integration? This is why. It's not just about making things easier. It's a massive security play. When a VM vMotions from one physical server to another, you can't have a gap where the security policy is gone. VMM integration ensures that network and security policy follows that workload instantly. This statement shows you get that business need. Oh, this is good. This is how you show you've got some gray hair. Anybody can plug in a firewall, but a real architect worries about things like traffic symmetry, making sure traffic goes out and comes back through the same device. You know that if you get that wrong, the firewall just drops the traffic. This statement shows you've seen things break, and you know how to design them so they don't. All right, we've nailed the tech. But the architect role is about more than just technology, right? It's about leadership. They need to know, can you be the one the buck stops with? Can you mentor a junior team? Can you truly own the operational side of things? This is exactly how you position yourself as a leader. You're not the lone hero who rides in on a white horse to save the day. No, you're a force multiplier. You make the entire team better by teaching them how to find the root cause, which makes the whole organization stronger in the long run. Now, when they ask you how you troubleshoot, and they will, don't just start rattling off show commands. Show them you have a process, a repeatable method that works under pressure. You always start by scoping the impact. Then you gather evidence before you make changes. You isolate variables methodically. And you always finish with documentation to make sure this problem never happens again. This shows maturity. And here's a little pro tip. Sprinkle these words into your stories. Using terms like these signals to the interviewer that you've worked in a serious, large-scale enterprise. You get the process, you understand governance, you know the difference between incident management, which is put the fire out now, and problem management, which is figure out why the fire started and make sure it never does again. Okay, we've gone through the mindset, the core skills, the data center, all the integrations, and the leadership piece. Now it's time to wrap it all up with one killer closing statement that will leave them with no doubt that you're the right person for the job. And there it is. That's your summary. It defines who you are, a senior engineer. It lists your key strengths, but most importantly, it states your focus. You design for resilience, you implement clean policy, and you serve as a trusted lead. It's concise, it's powerful, and it's the perfect final impression. So, we've laid out the entire blueprint for you. You've got the concepts, you've got the key phrases, you have the structure to prove you don't just know the tech, you think like an architect. The only question left is, how are you going to take this and go own that room?